Hi, this is Chloe Sears, and this is my final assessment. I wanted to start off by saying thank you to you, Dr. Provost, because I have had an absolute joy being in this class because I had never taken a philosophy class, like I mentioned in my first response, and I got so much out of it because especially with everything that's going on right now in our world, how there's a lot of uncertainty, kind of learning to ask more questions rather than specifically seek out answers has been kind of beneficial to my mental well-being as well as my ability to kind of comprehend what's going on right now. So I really appreciated that, getting to learn how to think more critically about different questions rather than just searching for answers. I also just really appreciated how digestible the material was because it made it not feel like a class, but it was more like something I was actually interested in, and I was choosing to learn about all these different philosophers rather than like, oh my gosh, it's such a bore, I have to do all this work and do all these material ideas and stuff like that. But I just really appreciated that. I also really appreciated you allowing me to do this instead of writing an essay because it was really beneficial to my understanding of the material and allowed me to, I personally think, engage with the material in a way more developed way than I would be able to if I was writing. And now talking about engaging, I want to give myself a rating based off of a 1 to 10 scale. I personally think that I would give myself a 9 to 10 because I felt really engaged with the material because I related to it on a personal level, because I've never taken philosophy before, and also because I really dove deep into this idea of self-reflection. I really kind of started thinking about myself as an individual and how all of my actions impact other people. And I also one of the concepts that allowed me to really engage myself with the material was this idea of how everything gives rise to its opposite. And by being able to discover that, I was able to see how attributes of myself that I may like and things that I don't like give rise to one another, and I've kind of just been able to accept that a little bit more, that these things are a part of me because I have one, I have the other, and because of that I'm the individual that I am, and that my consciousness is based off of all the things that make me me. And I don't know, I really appreciated that because being able to engage with the material allowed me to assess more of who I am as an individual, as well as assess more of the journey that I'm going to be taking towards discovering more wisdom and discovering my sense of consciousness. I also really believe that I engaged with the material because I was inspired to start journaling again, which I really actually enjoy a lot, but I didn't do for a while. I think because I moved to college, I stopped doing it. But now that I'm back home, I started doing it again, and it's been a really great reminder of, all the things that I reflect on at the end of the day. And I think that because I was inspired, it shows that I fully engaged myself and was actually really interested in the material. I also found myself assessing situations in my life in a more philosophical way. What I mean by that is I was kind of thinking about, especially karma is a big one, is thinking about how each thing that I say to a coworker, to my parents, is going to come back towards me, whether it was a positive or a negative thing. Is that it's kind of this idea that as I was more engaged, I was more aware of what was going on around me and was able to apply what we were learning in class to my everyday life, which I think, again, shows how engaged I was with the material and with the class. Something that made being engaged easier was how digestible the material was. I may have mentioned it already, but I really appreciated how much it felt more like I was doing something for pleasure rather than having to do it for a class. And because of that, I was able to fully and deeply engage myself. Another thing that I really that I liked about this class is that I definitely found myself thinking about class content, like I mentioned before, outside of the class, but specifically with my parents. We had a really long conversation about the allegory of the cave in relation to our more traditional philosophers, which I really appreciated because my parents have never taken philosophy classes before. They both did more STEM related things in college, and I thought it was really interesting to get to talk to them about that because they never had really, address these ideas of our being and the reality of our being and the essence of consciousness and our own essence. And it just was interesting because I felt like because I was so engaged with the material, I was actually able to help them understand and maybe help them go down their path towards discovering more of their sense of consciousness. So I thought that was super cool because it's really fun to have intellectual conversations with your parents when I was kind of doing all the talking because I really was engaged with these ideas, especially this idea of being a being and straying away from what society tells you to do. So I really appreciated that, and it really helped me feel like I had a really rock solid foundation in philosophy. So another question you possibly said I should respond to was give an example of how I've demonstrated that I'm a serious student, and I have two specific ones. One is that I was punctual in every single assignment that I completed and every single video that I responded with to a peer response, is that I made sure that I did everything on time, which I think shows that I'm making sure that I have time to develop my ideas as well as get things in at the proper time so that you have proper time to grade it, which I don't know, I really appreciate that schedule because it allows me to develop a better time management sense of skills, as well as which are really beneficial to other parts of my education, as well as just being able to complete things when they're supposed to be done. I actually something that I think makes me a really serious student is that I made a calendar of each of the dates that something was done, and then once I got it done, I've marked it off with a highlighter, which I think is really important and shows that I've really been dedicated to getting things in on time, which shows that I'm serious. Another thing that shows that I'm a serious student is because, honestly, I like being completely honest, is at the beginning of this class, after the first module, I thought I wanted to drop the class because I had such a hard time understanding the reading. And it wasn't because of your writing, it was more based off of, I have never read anything like this before. I think it's going to be really hard for me to digest it. And I would say that I demonstrated that I'm a serious student because I persevered and I completed different assignments, and I went through the entirety of the class without getting completely and utterly sidetracked by how difficult it is to discover and find analysis of all these ideas. So I think that shows that I'm a serious student because I dedicated myself to understanding the material and sticking with it, which I think shows that I have good work ethic and that I'm really dedicated to working to make sure that I'm working hard as a college student. Let's see. Another thing that you mentioned was possibly talking about if I rushed or skimmed, or if I talked about the other parts of me being a student within this class, is that I really, truly, honestly studied everything, especially because, like I said before, is that I had a hard time understanding it, and I would not be able to talk for 8 to 10 minutes about it if I really didn't fully study everything. And I really tried hard to make sure that I incorporated different parts of the module, so like part 1 with the essay and part 2 with the videos within my responses, because I feel like that's really important because there were lots of different ideas presented within both of the parts of the module. So I think that shows that I really, really dove deep into the material, and I also the ideas that in my responses, I really tried to understand the material as well. That's another thing, is that I really tried to take the time to actually understand what I was reading, because, again, it helps me talk in a more sincere way and actually form different sense of analysis, and take the ideas that are presented within the module and apply it to my own life, because as I'm able to apply it to myself, I'm able to formulate a better sense of analysis and further, actually understand the material, which I think is a really important part of it, and something that was really important for me because I wanted to understand it. I think that's like a really big thing that shows how dedicated I am as a student and how I really fully studied everything. Let's see. Another thing that you mentioned is that have your studies of the true, the good, and the beautiful contribute to how your understanding of contribute to how you understand the world and your place in it, and has your academic experience enriched your life? I kind of answered these together in the same response. I definitely feel like I can now live more freely, knowing that all my decisions should be based off of myself, and that by taking time to self-reflect, I'm able to actually discover and make the decision that's best for me without the influence of society and without anybody telling me that my decision would be wrong, because everything is subjective and everything is based off of my own opinion as an individual and my own sense of consciousness. And I think that another thing is that I learned within these videos and these modules is that I have a sense of empathy, and I have a sense of compassion within myself, and that's something I kind of struggle with occasionally, is because I worry that I don't. But it's nice to have a reminder that as a human being, I'm capable of holding those things within myself, and because I'm able to hold those things within myself, I am an outwardly compassionate and really dedicated individual towards, making other people's lives better rather than making them harder. I think that that's like a big thing, especially with karma. It's really just been a reminder that my actions do impact other people, and that they're going to come back to impact me, and they're going to help me if I acknowledge it, and if I'm aware of when I'm talking and speaking to people. My sense of consciousness is kind of developing, and I'm gaining more wisdom, because as I am opening up to this awareness as an individual, I'm becoming more in tune with how everything impacts everything else. I definitely think that this has impacted my life, because I see the importance of now looking inward more, about myself to make important decisions. And I just really think that I need to make choices based off of my own ideas and my own opinions, and as an individual, rather than just accepting what is said by society. I think that that's also a really important thing that I learned within this class, is that we saw it as with the transition towards modern philosophy, kind of this idea of the straying away from the ideas presented by the church as the correct thing. And I think that while it's not the church within my life that's telling me how to do things, it's kind of this societal idea. I think that I've learned so much based off of political opinions, and based off of my own morals and my own, discoveries, and the questions that I'm asking myself. I've kind of, figured out that it doesn't matter what the other people have to say. I'm completely free, and by acknowledging that I'm free, I know that I'm free to make my decisions based off of what I want, and being able to see that how things are connected are allowing my choices to make change for other people and make change within the world. And it's just enriched my life in so many ways, because I had never really thought this way before. I consider myself 100% a STEM student. Like I'm answering questions, but now that I've had the opportunity to take this class and be engaged with this material, I will apply this to every single thing I do. Like, I cannot even stress that enough, is that I have this, something has awakened within me. I don't mean to be cliche, but I really truly feel that, I've had something now awaken within me, and it's really, really important to acknowledge that part of myself and how it contributes to every single thing in my life. And yeah, it's really breathtaking to realize that there were so many things I didn't know before, and so many things that I now have the opportunity to teach others about, so they can have a similar type of awakening, and as well as, just go down different paths in my life, knowing that there's a path I'm taking, and that each decision I make is going to impact me in a beautiful, wonderful way, and that my consciousness is going to continue to develop, and that my essence and my wisdom are going to lead me to where I'm supposed to be. And I can take what I've learned from this class and just apply it to every single thing I do, whether or not it's STEM, or if it's a job, or if it's a relationship. It's just that I feel like there's so many beneficial things I've learned within this course that I cannot wait to apply to my real life. Anyways, I want to say thank you so much for making such a wonderful, wonderful class. I had such a great time getting to learn about philosophy, and I honestly cannot wait to take another class. Thank you.